First off, I would like to say a few things. First is that to the person who already covered this story 2 months ago, it's not my fault that you haven't finished it, so basically I can call myself the first to finish the story on YouTube. Second of all, I'd like to shout out Darkk for the amazing artwork that was provided for the thumbnail I made. I vouch for them, so make sure to please check them out in the fan media area of Deepwoken Discord. With that getting said, please enjoy the story. Lament of Cirryn, compiled by the Emerald Scholar. The sound of birds is a common occurrence within the nested corridors of the great hives. I've woken up to these chirps countless times within my decades spent within them, though tomorrow I travel to another. While the construction of Great Hive Airtel is still ongoing, my party of life-proof scholars have been tasked with a mission by Hive Lord Simic himself. By next star set, we shall begin our departure to one of the eldest great hives known to my kind, the First. Some consider this as a pilgrimage of sorts, as the other hivekin believe the First as a reverent as holy ground, the beginning of our society. To experience the journey myself is exciting to say the least, though I do ponder the morality of what's to come with our task. I trust in Zimic's guidance. His bravery has brought us with this far, but I cannot help but worry nonetheless. While I'm lost in such thoughts, a small bird approaches, small and fragile. "Look at you," I remark, kneeling down to get a better view of it. The bird hops towards me, round in shape and colored a bright red. I hold my finger out to touch it, but just as I almost can feel its soft feathers, it flies away. "You never learn, Akuza," a familiar voice calls out to me, although I'm puzzled at first as to where. I look around for a moment, until I hear the voice again. "Behind you, fool!" I quickly turn around and see Ramez standing over me, his mask gleaming from the rays of the sun. "For some esteemed scholar, you're not very bright of a woman, Akuza," he remarks once again, as if his previous comment wasn't enough. "Quit it! I simply want to appreciate these fleeting things," I reply, turning away from him and gazing towards where the bird once sat. And this little one got away too. A shame. I sigh, beginning to stand up. He's always given me a tough time, though it's a caring sort, so I do not mind too much. "Did you pack your bags?" As I ask him, I collect my belongings, little scraps of paper, ink, garments, and very either base snacks if needed. "Aye, last night it took me quite a few hours. You don't seem to be bringing that much, though. Why is that?" He asked, half honestly, then invasively peers over my shoulder. I bump him away with my arms, closing my pouch with my belongings inside. "It's not exactly a vacation. We have a duty entrusted us by Lord Simic himself. Take yourself more seriously, Ramez. You only need to bring what we need," I calmly assert myself, although he's testing my patience already. Alright, mutters as he backs off. "Be at the docks by Starset. I'll be waiting for you with Cal. And please, you truly should bring more with you just in case anything goes wrong, whether it be our task or what follows after. I don't want to see you with a crack in your mask, Yakuza." He speaks in a much more stern tone. It's almost jarring seeing him change attitude so quickly. "Understood," I reply quietly, although I do ponder on his anxiety. It's not like him to worry this much, or perhaps he simply doesn't show it to me often. With my pouch on my hip, I head off to my quarters to pack additional supplies. Starrise arrives, and I've already begun packing once again. In addition to my previous items, I'm entrusting the last remaining compartments of my pouch to a small stiletto for protection, as well as a shard of Raja's mask for good luck. "To hope we'll meet again," I mumble quietly to myself, as I tuck the shard away into the darkness of my pouch. Gazing out the window, I watch the birds of the branch of the great hive outside bring their children to rest within their little homes. A future anyone could wish for, I muse to myself, observing the mother bird care to her nestlings. A future I'd wish for, yet duty steals from me. Perhaps one day. I get up from my wooden desk chair and sit upon a bed too small for my own grown hivekin. Outside the window, the birds head to sleep. So, little birds, I suppose I shall too. Familiar chirps greet me from my restless slumber, as it seems Starstad has come sooner than expected. Good morning to you as well. I look out the window, though no birds are to be seen. The chirping must be from round the corner, perhaps? I raise myself out of the bed, although too fast, perhaps. I stumble my way towards the window, peering out both sides. I look up for any signs of my familiar friends, the source of the song, yet none are to be seen. Odd. No time for such matters, though. I shake myself awake, getting dressed and preparing for the voyage to come. Picking up my pouch, I realize it's still lightweight. I pray that Ramez won't make an issue out of it, lest I worry about a frivolous thing for what's to come. Fashionably late as always, Remez remarks as I step onto the docks, though it's quite difficult to hear him over the roar of waves crashing into the great hive's roots. Cal shakes his head, patting Remez on the back. Relax, the ship is here, and all three of us are here too. That's all that matters, Cal calmly says, trying to make Remez control himself, I suppose. Remez looks over to him, then to me, and sighs. Fine, let's just get this already. Alright? He mutters as he walks into the ship. Cal shrugs, looking at me with a puzzled expression. I don't particularly understand what his issue is. He's a different person when you're not around, he says, looking off at the sea. I brush it off. It's fine, Cal, really. And how have you been? It's been weeks since I could last meet with you. I smile, looking towards him, but his gaze doesn't shift from the sea. He always seemed trouble, keeping it to himself, but today seems particularly different. A few moments pass in which he doesn't say a word. Then he moves to the board of the ship where Remez silently. Make it really hard to get know you better. You know that? I mumble to myself as I follow Cal aboard the ship quietly. Hours have passed at sea now, and our party hasn't set a silence within our chambers. I cannot help but wonder what the troubling these two have seen. Have I missed some sort of argument? Did I see something wrong? What's with the quiet, you two? It's not like both of you stay silent for hours on end. I finally break the silence in the room, watching the both of them jump in their seats from the startle of the noise. Has the reality of not set you on this yet, Akuza? Cal asks silently, looking towards me with a fierce look. His hand rests on the wooden desk, tapping into frustration. Well, trying new things is our job, isn't it? To be the Zimic scholars that discover the unknown. I hastily reply, somewhat unnerved by Cal's frustration. He must have noticed my anxiety in my voice, and he racks his tone. Look, Lifeweave, we may have the future for our technology, but this unnerves me, Akuza. It makes me scared. It doesn't feel right. I look down at my hand resting on my table, watching him grip on nervously. I glance over to Remez, who idly looking at the seaside window of the chamber, then I gaze back at Cal. I speak calmly, responding to him with a manner of suggest no offense. Look, I know I understand. I really do. I know people within our great hives are calling it necromancy and other foul things, but I trust Zimic's judgment. Even more so, because it's Cirryn. I get why they're concerned about this, but even so, we shouldn't be so low-spirited due to what our peers have said about our duty. By the time we finish our task, reanimation successful or not, we shall come home with our return to normal. Think of it as just as a previous duties. We're going to be fine. Silence returns to the room, following my attempts at cheering them up. A moment passes and Remez looks over to me. Not every day I get to hear someone claiming using necromancy to revive a hero as any other duty. What's next? You're gonna revive Rydra for waiting home for you too? He lets out a sly laugh, and I resist the urge to slam the table. Gods below, you're something else! I shout as I get to my seat, and hastily rush out to the chambers, slamming the door behind me. I can't stand them. These people, the way Cal does nothing. I run to the deck of the ship, leaning on the railing as I catch my breath. I turn around, cross my arms, and look at the eternal blue surrounding us. I can't, just... I sigh, staring off at the waves. Somewhat misty-eyed, I rummage through my pouch and find Ryder's mask shard. I hold it high, and I can feel myself shaking, staring up at it. I know you're still there. I slammer through tears, looking at the piece of the mask. I can't believe Remez would just... He knows that is important to me. That they're still important to me. I clutch the piece of the mask and fall to my knees onto the deck of the ship, looking down. I hear a door faintly open in the distance and close softly. Quiet steps approach towards me, and I haven't had this energy to look up. What is it? I cry out, unsure to the person behind me. A moment passes, and I'm being given the response of great silence. I turn behind me quickly, expecting to see Remez mocking me once more, only to see nobody at all. This way, this time. The voice on my right speaks softly, sitting beside me, considerably more calm than before. Remez. I don't want you to talk right now. I tend to say flatly, though my voice is still shaky. He sighs, placing my hand on my shoulder. I know. I'm sorry. It was just too far. He mumbles quietly. He clears he feels guilty about it. I don't mean for that to come out, or even to think about it. Just sometimes I get caught up in the mask, you know? The image of the quippy Vesperian making light out everything. But that was too much. I'm sorry, Kuza. He finishes his apology and awaits my response quietly, looking off to the sea just as I am. I know he doesn't mean to act out like this, but it still hurts. But I don't want to hurt him either. I wait a moment and take a deep breath, exhaling. I forgive you, Ramez. He takes his hand off on my shoulder and we sit together quietly. Waves below inside the ship as we sit together with no words spoken. The moon eye rises above the horizon as the sky slowly grows dark. I'm going to head to bed, I stammer out, holding onto the railing of the ship's deck as I stumble upon my feet. Ramez looks over and nods solemnly, then quietly replies, I'll be sitting here for a while now. Rest well, Akuza. Tomorrow will be difficult, and thank you for forgiving me. He looks off to the waves once more. I can't help but feel a little bad for him. While I've forgiven him, I do not think he's forgiven himself, yet. I nod at him, return to the chambers. Cal is already asleep within his own bed, and I lay him down upon mine, staring up at the ceiling for a few moments. I hold Rija's masked shard upon one last time, contemplating it, and get back into my pouch. A deal of time passes until we arrive at the first. The day is finally upon us. My party and I are anxious, but ready to get this over with. Allow me to lead, please. I've been around here before, and the masks here know me already. Cal speaks as we're led up to the deck of the ship, observing the massive great hive ahead of us. As the ship draws closer to the docks, Ramez looks over to Cal and asks, Are you sure they won't require some sort of identification or something? I doubt they'll believe us if we claim Zemek sent us without any proof. Cal smiles and shakes his head, peering off to the dock in front of our ship. They know we're coming, believe me. Elegant branches stretch across the sky above us as the great hive looms overhead. They said the first is grandiose, but this, I never could have imagined. I chatter to Cal as he leads us toward the plaza. The volume of birds chattering here compared to our home great hive is one of the first things I notice as we walk closer within. The other hivekin travelers pass in and out. Grandiose is an understatement, Akuza. You're lucky to have me guiding you two, or else this would be a much longer trip than planned. Cal laughs as we move closer to the plaza. Elegant branches stretch across the sky above us as the great hive looms overhead. They said the first was grandiose, but this, I can never imagined. I chatter to Cal as he leads towards us to the plaza. The volume of birds chattering here compared to our home great hive is one of the first things I notice as we walk closer within, and the other hivekin travelers pass in and out. Grandiose is an understatement, Akuza. You're lucky to have me guiding you two, or else it would be a much longer trip than planned. Cal laughs as we move closer towards the plaza. As we draw near towards it, a tall Ganymede guard walks towards our group to stop us, peering down at us. Aye, we saw your ship. The dock's only been open to select groups at the moment. What's your purpose here? The guard bellows sternly, his bright eyes staring into Ramez's mask in particular. You look... No, you're not him. The guard begins to say, then shakes his head, turning to Cal. I don't understand why these guards always try to talk to Ramez or Cal before me. Cal begins to speak before I interrupt him. We're Lifeweave scholars sent by Hive Lord Zemek Diri of the Second. We're here for Cirryn, if you'd please guide us. The Ganymede's bright eyes blink twice, evidently puzzled by the statement for a moment, before the realization hits him. Ah, you're that group. His expression shifts to something more of a grin as he looks off to the side, possibly looking for someone else to deal with us. I didn't expect a warm welcome for what we were doing here. I'm not too surprised. A group of guards lead us up to Cirryn's memorial, and the room falls silent. It seems we're expected. The statue of Cirryn is massive, towering over all of us. I stare up at the statue, looking deeply into his masks. It feels eerily familiar, but I can't put my finger on why. Ramez strides forward, then faces towards me, taking a dramatic pose as he begins to speak. Surely you've heard of the tale of Cirryn, the star-set blade? One of the guards chuckles, while another looks annoyed. No, my good friend, I have not, I hastily respond, laughing as I play along. Cal buries his head into his hands out of embarrassment. The stories are true, you see. Cirryn,
The bravest of all the ancient Hive Lord warriors, rose above all others when the Hive was in the most dire of circumstances. Indeed, he drew his blade against the blasphemous Etrian invaders who sought to steal our Lifeweave artifacts ages ago. Oh, how he defended the Hive and its glory! Gods below rest his soul. Hermes finishes his speech, and I cannot help but not laugh along with him. Thank you for my history lesson, dear historian. I collect myself and look over to the guards standing around us, some remaining stoic. Then my gaze drifts over to an interesting metal structure nearby. This shape is odd. And the size of the structure, what is this? What's this over here? I've never seen anything like this. I approach with an immensely large metal door. It's cold to the touch, too cold to the touch, and I sense nothing.
This is what we call the lifeless chamber. One of the taller guards responds, walking closer to me.
Gods below, why is everyone here tall?
This used to serve as a prison for rogue lifeweavers in a long time past, though we didn't touch constructs anymore.
He continues to stare at the door. Could you elaborate? May I look inside? I look around for a while for a handle of some sort to open up the door, asking as I peer around. The guard looks over to me slightly puzzled.
By all means, it's constructed entirely of iron, devoid of any material a lifeweaver could manipulate. Although, if an iron singer was in here, it would not be secure at all. But I digress. No sort of lifeweave can be used in here whatsoever.
The guard continues to explain as I look up, observing a conspicuous button near the door. Now is this? I mumble to myself, reaching up to an attempt pressing it, although I cannot reach it. Lovely.
Need some help? Hermes approaches the guard and I, eyeing the button I was struggling to reach. He scoffs, hitting the button with ease. A loud click echoes throughout the hall as the large iron door slowly lowers, revealing an impressively large, empty interior constructed purely of iron. Wow. I step into the room, with each step making a loud metal noise ring throughout the chamber. It's cold, and I begin to understand what the guard meant by its devoid of life. It feels so empty compared to the life of Great Hive, I mumble to myself, walking deeper into the large, egg-shaped room. And dark, Cal shouts over by the door, looking into the chamber with Hermes. If you're done now, I'd like to get our job here over with. Hermes calls out to me, and I gasp and rush back to the door. Gods below, apologies. I get caught up in new things quite easily. I follow him and Cal out, back towards the group of guards. It's fine, Akuza, honestly. Let's worry about the hard part. It's time. Guards of the first guide us to Cirryn's chamber at rest. A large metal coffin resides within the middle of the room, surrounded by countless array of beautiful flowers. Oh my! Cal walks forward, crouching down and touching the flowers of the chamber. Such a melancholic place for such beautiful flowers. Tragic. He picks one up and then glances at the guard to ensure it wasn't seen as disrespectful. Fairest of the blossoms, An everlasting past to stem being pulled. He respectfully trucks the flower into his belt and nods towards Cirryn's coffin. Thank you, Star-Set Blade. Cal solemnly speaks to the coffin. He's always been a sentimental one, taking little trinkets and knickknacks of his travels with him and to remember them by. I imagine this must feel special to him, knowing the significance of this memorial. Hermes is standing in the corner of the room with his arms crossed, remaining silent. I presume he can sense the importance of the place too. These flowers have such a commanding presence amidst the life within this hall. The guards begin to file out as the room, except for one. He looks over to us and speaks. We'll be guarding the door outside. When you're finished your experiment, we'll unseal the memorial ground. He begins to exit the room, before pausing for a moment. I personally believe this is a grave sin against Cirryn's legacy, and the Hive as a whole. May the gods below judge you for what's to come. He then exits the memorial grounds, and the door slams shut behind him. Well then, I look towards Cal and Hermes. Are you two ready? I'm nervous myself, but I don't want to show it. I want them to feel brave, and I want us to succeed. We can make history. We need to head back home, yeah. Hermes gets off the wall and approaches towards me, then looking towards the top of the large coffin. Cal, help me lift this. Don't worry about her. Before you can finish, I've raced over to help to lift the top of the coffin. Shush. All together, please. I say, looking towards both of them. Cal holds the east, Hermes holds the west, and I begin to lift the south edge. On my count. 1, 2, 3. We all put our strength into lifting the top of the coffin, eventually managing to lift it up. Oh gods, this is heavy. Ramez exclaims as he begins to struggle, and we start to move to the top of the side. Just here, here, let it go here. Cal calls over to us, and we begin to lower to the ground. I can barely feel my arms. I sigh as we finish the process, staying down upon the grove of white remerio blossoms. One moment, please. Ramez sits too, and Cal simply looks down at the two of us. Take your time resting, please. I don't want us to too winded to the hard part. Cal speaks to us while looking at Cirryn's now exposed corpse. I buried him with his signature blade. How poetic. Cal chuckles to himself, then gazing at the flower in his belt. I presume I'd be the same as him, though. I can't help but smile listening to him ruminate on such things. There's clearly a strong passion behind the sentimentality of his. He shakes his head, brushing dirt off himself. I'm just about ready. I get up and look towards Ramez. And you? He looks up at me, tilting his head. I was ready the whole time, just waiting for you. He chuckles as he gets on his feet, although I know that's a lie. Have you two recited a mantra before, or would this be your first? Cal calls out to us, standing over the corpse. I can't help but note how unkept his body is. Usually corpses' faces are worse fates, to say the least. I memorized it quite a while ago, I reply. Looking up to Cal as Ramez, I begin to slowly approach the body. Ramez doesn't respond to Cal, but it seems he's already has deep focus on the body. He's usually quite carefree on the situations. Is something the matter? I ask Ramez, as he snaps out of his trance. Nothing, Akusa. Just idle anxieties, that's all. He speaks quietly, looking over from the corpse to me. Anxieties, It's going to be fine, Ramez. We'll be fine. I try to reassure him, but part of me feels nervous too. We stretch our hands above the body of Cirryn, and focus intently. I can sense the great life flowing within the room, from myself, my companions, and these countless white flowers surrounding the coffin. Closing my eyes, I find the vacancy, an empty pocket of life, a soulless body. When a body's soul is trapped within the depths, traces of the soul can be found in this rightful body. Even whilst the soul attempts to escape the depths, however, this vessel is completely empty, its soul lost to the confines of the depths forever, it seems. Then, should our task succeed, what would control his body? If there's... Bah, I shouldn't waste so much time. I need to focus. I focus on the vacancy, and then the flowers around me. The life weave is not an act of generating new life. It is the transfer of life. This is the secret we hive can live by. It is the truth of our miracle. I find the life within the memorial flowers, observing how they act and bend. It shall suffice with this quantity. I begin to channel their life into the vacancy, then open my eyes. The flower's closet to the coffin wilt within seconds, turning into a dark black. A growing black circle begins to grow around the coffin as each flower dies to the transfer, and I pressure the flower's life into the place of the soul further. I can feel my head pounding from the stress as sweat begins to trickle down my forehead. Gods below, I mutter to myself as I redirect the life of 100 flowers into the place of Cirryn's soul. Ramez and Cal are completely silent, focusing their entire beings into the task as well. A large green pulse emanates over Cirryn's body, a physical sign of life weave manifestation working so far. The once beautiful white flowers below us are now a sea of wilted, rotted leaves, and just as I fear, we'll have to draw from our own life. The sense of vacancy vanishes. I lose my focus as soon as I notice it, looking around the room, then to Ramez and Cal. Did you two feel it too? I asked him exhaustedly, attempting to catch my breath in between words. Ramez simply nods as he draws his breath, while Cal sighs. I did, but I can't help but worry if that wasn't enough. He glances at the flower on his hip, still gleaming white, then shakes his head dismissively. Ramez finishes catching his breath, looking over to Cirryn's body. Do we just wait? He asked in a somewhat puzzled manner, supposedly expecting the imminent result. Not wait per se. Just keep an eye on him. Look for any signs of breathing, anything like that. I call out to him. I stare intently in Cirryn's vessel. I can almost feel something swelling within it, but it's so difficult to describe what. The vacancy is completely erased, I know for certain. All of us grow quiet, as I believe others noticed it as well. We stare at the body for a few moments, and then... A twitch! Cirryn twitches! Did we succeed? Cal draws in shocked breath, placing his hand over the mask. While Ramez doesn't move an inch, I can't help but stand motionless as well. We? Are we necromancers? Is this hearsay? No. Surely they wouldn't claim such things. Simic himself ordered this task, but my anxieties only grow worse by the moment. Cirryn, are you awake? I find myself asking subconsciously. Watching the body begin to shift and stir, my heart begins to pound, watching him slowly rise to life. Where I once felt that vacancy is now something else. But it doesn't feel right. There's no soul. What compels him to move, to live? What's the guiding part of us all? How? Do you feel it too? I ask nervously to him, but I can't take my eyes away from Cirryn forms raising to life. I do, Akuza. Are you afraid as well? He asked me, but at this point my heart is beating too hard to answer. Something feels terribly wrong. There's no soul. This shouldn't be possible. With one sudden movement, Cirryn sits up with his coffin, his gray, moss-sown mask staring at us. But through the large crack in his visage, I can see his eyes. Vacant. Cal approaches him, putting his arm out in front of Ramez and I. Allow me to this time, please. You cut me off so rudely that the last time we wished to speak. Cal mumbles towards me, and I haven't had the heart to protest. Greetings, Starset Blade. You've laid dormant for so many years, and the rest of the Hive is happy to have you with us again. My name is Cal. I'm one of the Life Weavers of the Second. How do you feel, Cirryn? He asks the hero calmly, evidently trying to ensure the large being stays calm. Cirryn begins to shuffle around more, armor still intact. As he stands, he then steps out of his coffin, his blade at his side, towering over all of us. I've never seen a Vesperin of legend, yet where I should feel admiration, I feel fear at this stature. The hero responds to Cirryn's questions with a resounding silence, staring down at him. Cirryn twitches unnaturally, begins to turn into something awful. What in the gods below? What's wrong? Ramez asks while he backs away nervously towards the door, and I find myself following suit. Something isn't right, I mutter to him, but I can't take my eyes away from Cal and Cirryn. Cal stares at the towering hero, not moving an inch. He seems determined, but I want to scream for him to back away. The vacancy has brewed into something horrific. I feel no soul there. Just the swelling roar of 1,000 lives screaming in Cirryn at once, malforming and converging together into primal instinct. Cirryn's eyes, visible through his cracked visage, begins to bloat and swell. Cal, get away from it. Cal, come up here, please. Please. This isn't right. Get away from it. I shout at him and refuses to move at all. Please, gods below, don't be stupid now. Cirryn's body begins to bloat further with horrible, bright green cysts. The life weave, it's taken control of him, but 1,000 wills, they cannot.
And to whom do I owe the pleasure?
A bellowing, deep voice breaks the silence of the room. Cirryn, how? He shouldn't. It is simply residual memories within his body? Cirryn calls out again.
And to whom do I owe the pleasure?
As he grows taller, malforming and further into something unrecognizable.
And to do I owe, and to whom, and...
He begins repeating the same phrase over and over, faster each time before he can finish, and he turns into the form most foul, monstrous, unrecognizable. He bloats, contorts, cysts grow and die within mere seconds on him. It is a pleasure to meet you, Cirryn. My name is Cal. Within the blink of an eye, Cirryn's Starset blade cuts Cal's body directly through his torso, a complete horizontal cut all the way through him. A large pain stroke of blood scatters across the wilted flowers below us. No. No, 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 no! Cal! Cal! I scream over to him, backing further up in horror. This isn't happening. This has to be a dream. No. No! Ramez is banging on the door to let us out, shouting and screaming that something has gone wrong. I can't. I stare at Cal, and he turns his head towards me. I'm sorry, he mutters before his upper torso slides off his legs, crashing into the floor. His legs, separate from the rest of his body, then crumble into the flowers below. He's gone. Cal's gone. He can't survive the depths. No, he... Open it! Let us out, please! Ramez slams on the door louder, screaming for us to be released from the chamber. I feel adrenaline beginning to surge within me. I don't want to die. I need to get out. I don't want to die. I don't. The door opens, and I leap through. The guards look towards Ramez and I with puzzled expressions. Then they look inside the chamber. Their expressions shift, drawing their weapons. I knew from the beginning. Necromancy is not to be told with. Utter fools. One guard mocks us, stepping into the chamber and drawing his blade to Cirryn. You make a mockery out of Cirryn's legacy, depth sent. Now I shall return to your slumber. His preamble is cut short by another slash, his upper torso meeting Cal within the bed of wilted flowers below. The rest of the guards rush into the room, and I look at Ramez, feeling my heart pound more. We need to go, now. We need help. We need to run. I stammer through my words, looking at him helplessly. Please, gods below, just say something. Now, he shouts, and we begin to run, faster than we ever run before. Loud stomps echo throughout the entire great hive, as the once constant bird chirps come to a silence. The rustling of leaves falls still, the chattering of Vesperin and Ganymede end. Fear and panic overtake the serenity of what Hive can call home as we sprint through the guards' halls, the force of Hive defense coming in to defend the Great Hive from what we've done. One after another, we hear scream after scream of guards heading to engage with Cirryn as another loud stomp echoes through the tree as he gets further into the Great Hive. My heart is pounding harder. I can barely feel my legs as we reach the plaza. The people of the Great Hive are scattering. Word travels fast, but screams travel faster. I begin to catch my breath from the sprint beneath Cirryn's monument towering over the center of the plaza. Ramez drops to the floor, painting as he always himself. What do we do? Gods, what can we even do? He shouts, panicking as the stomps continue to echo throughout the whole tree. I want to respond. I want to cry out the right answer. But even now I find myself feeling the same way. I look over to the direction that the stomps are coming from, and it's close. I look around the plaza for something, anything, that could lead us to a weapon of some sorts. Gods, anything. Another stomp. I can barely hear myself think over the sound of my heart. And then I realized. Standing across from me, across the plaza, lies the lifeless chamber. The cold, lifeless prison in which no life weave can survive. Ramez, do you think we can get in there? I mutter nervously, raising my shaky hand to point towards the direction of the cold confines. He looks over to the chamber, and then towards the sound of ever nearer stomps. I think we can, but we have to lure it in there. There has to be something around here. Some gods, it's only chasing people. I don't know. We could use life leave. No, it doesn't work in there. Gods below, damn it all! He begins to panic once more, tapping his mask nervously beneath Cirryn's monument until he suddenly stops in his tracks. A moment of silence passes, only broken by even closer loud stomps. It's near. Akuza, he calls out somberly, and I begin to worry. That shake in his voice isn't normal. Yes? Did you think of something? We can try anything, please. I look towards him with a form of reassurance. Some light at the end of the tunnel. I can lure it in there for you, Akuza. Huh? No! I can't let you. I can barely form any words. He would never. He can't. I can't lose another friend today. Please, Akuza. It's either me or the hive kitten here suffering even more greatly. He looks down at the floor, out of hopelessness. I've never seen him like this. No, Ramez. Listen to me. I can go. Please. I shout to him desperately. I feel tears swelling in my eyes as the ground beneath us shakes. He doesn't look up at me. He simply shakes his head. His mind is set, and I'm helpless yet again. It's the least I can do. For Cal, for the hivekin already lost, for you. I have too much to atone for. His voice grows more shaky, holding back tears of his own. He could never be able to forgive himself. He'd blame himself for all of this. I hold out my hand to him. Ramez, are you truly certain? I ask him, looking towards his mask. He looks up to me and grabs my hand, replying, I'm certain. I pull him off the ground and watch him gather his balance. I wish I could do more for you, Ramez. I wish it didn't have to be like this. I wish anything other than this. Another stop across the plaza. I can see its shadow in the frame of the gate. Ramez looks towards me and nods. I'm going to open the door, and when it draws near, I'll lure it in there, and then it's when in there with me. I need you to seal the chamber behind me, Akuza. It's never opening up the gate again. My eyes swell with more tears, and although I try my best to remain strong, I cannot help but weep for him. Understood. I stumble over my words between tears, watching him begin to walk away. This is
All feels so similar, and again, all I can do is watch. The feeling watching him walk away for the final time is the most sour of them all. Ramez, thank you for everything. He pauses for a moment, and he continues. Cirryn enters the plaza, somehow more monstrous than before, his mask split into the sea of fragments scattered across now dozen limbs, mouths, and eyes of varying sizes. I feel sick to my stomach looking at it, the tragedy we've carried. Aye! A loud shout from the center of the plaza. Ramez. The beast's 1,000 eyes glare towards him as it stomps towards him. The floor beneath us shakes violently with each step as dust and leaves fall from branches above. Sun beams through the canopy high, toward the plaza center where Ramez and Cirryn stand. And then he runs. Ramez sprints through the lifeless chamber's massive entrance, then hits the button nearby to begin the opening of the entry. Cirryn stomps increasingly faster towards Ramez as the entrance finally resides fully open. Ramez dashes inside, looking behind him one last time towards me. My legs, my arms, every part of it is screaming not to let him go, to bring him back over here, but it's too late for something like that. I begin to slowly move towards the direction of the chamber, keeping a distance between myself and Cirryn. As Cirryn reaches the door, he struggles to fit inside. He continuously slams himself against the frame, rapid succession, until enough of his life we've sets rot and allow him in. Once he's through the door, I approach. Ramez stands within the deepest section of the chamber, waiting for Cirryn to draw nearer. Cirryn steps slow as his draws nearer to Ramez. I reach the entrance to the chamber as Cirryn is halfway through it. I reach for the button. I can't reach it. My heart starts pounding once again, and I struggle with all my might to just damn it all. I back off from the door and take a deep breath. I need to do this, now. I sprint towards the button, leaping off the ground and reaching for the heights I can reach it, hitting the button. The great hive shakes as the chamber begins to seal itself. Cirryn continues to pace towards Ramez, and I helplessly watch the chamber's door close. Ramez! I scream towards him one last time. He looks towards me, shaking in fear, and shouts back with the last of his might. I'm sorry. The chamber door seals shut.